Is Bloom the strongest Winx? Here, we have our resident scene stealer broken down into combat and usefulness in battle. And yes, yes, she's the keeper of the dragon flame. Yes, yes, it's the power of the universe. But what does that mean and how does it manifest in the show? Bloom's powers are obviously fire-based. She can throw fireballs, unleash flamethrowers, even conjure the essence of the great dragon itself. Her powers are destructive and fierce, but it's also surprisingly limited with what she can do. Only so many fireballs and like a sprinkling of shields that you can do before it kind of becomes redundant. While I do think that Bloom's powers aren't necessarily fascinating, I do think that how she uses them and what they represent is. I've seen a lot of people say that since Bloom has the dragon flame, she has the power to create life or even create another universe, and that's debatable. I don't judge based on what a character hasn't done. What I do think is that the dragon flame represents almost limitless power. Bloom simply has an energy within her that just won't quit. It allows her to overwhelm her opponents because she doesn't run out of steam. This is why whenever Bloom's powers are compromised, like when the Trick stole the dragon flame or when her enchantix was incomplete, it was devastating for her because she's used to being the one who can keep going despite all odds. Bloom's fighting style is basically an onslaught of energy blasts and spells. She fights through brute force, and that's because she has the energy of the dragon flame. The other girls will eventually tire out after extended battles. Bloom is usually the one who's not only still standing, but also encouraging everyone else to keep going. Ironically, though, Bloom tends to get overwhelmed when she's alone and fighting multiple opponents that are strong together. Sometimes she can overwhelm multiple opponents, other times she gets overwhelmed. It really depends on her emotional state at the time. One of the things I do like about Bloom's powers is that she's essentially a nuke button, and whenever things come down to the wire and it doesn't seem like the girls have a chance of winning, Bloom has a tendency to just explode. This overwhelming burst of energy usually puts everyone in the immediate area out of commission. The only problem is that this doesn't always work, and sometimes a villain is left standing, and it leaves her and the other girls compromised. We already know that Bloom is arguably the strongest, and that she serves as a finisher. How is she useful outside of battle? This is definitely something that I think that Bloom had to grow into, but I do think that she is a natural leader. I think that her leadership qualities develop alongside her learning how to use her powers. She's often very good at delegating attacks, not necessarily strategy, but what I do like about her leadership style is that if she doesn't know what she's doing, she will let somebody step in and give advice. Willpower. This also ties into her powers, and I think this is probably Bloom's greatest strength. Her refusal to quit is usually what gets her out of impossible situations, and it also allows her to unlock different parts of her power, like when she was able to will herself into enchantix. I also like how she lends this philosophy to the other girls to inspire them to keep on going. On again, off again power with Bloom. Sometimes she has it, sometimes she doesn't. I personally think that this should have been left to Flora so we could give Flora more utility inside of the group. This is a straight up forgotten power with Bloom. There was like an episode where she was able to read people's emotions, and I also think that this should have gone to another girl in the group, Musa. But the writers like to steal things that could go to the other girls and give them to Bloom. So, is she the strongest? According to the plot? Sure. But according to me, that remains to be seen once I release my official ranking.